Mga usapin tungkol sa Sabah, mga usapin tungkol sa BBL. Marami nang lumabas sa balita at pinag-usapan di lang sa Pilipinas kasama sa ibang bahagi ng mundo. Ano nga ba ang mga anggulo sa usapin na ito na hindi pa napag-uusapan? Ano pa ang mga hindi pa natututukan? Ngayong araw, pag-usapan natin yan sa Thinking Out Loud with Rafi Alunan. Kasama ang ating panauhing magbibigay ng linaw sa paksang yan, si Pastor Boy Saicon. Tutukan sa DZRH Radio, DZRH News Television at DZRH News Television Facebook at YouTube live channel at www.dzrhnews.com. Eto na, alamin na ng malaliman sa Thinking Out Loud with Rafi Alunan.
Magandang araw sa iyo, kaibigan, Kapastor Boy Saicon.
Magandang
ang kaibigan ko si Boy, matagal na kaming makakilala, and mabuti na lang he agreed to appear in the show today dahil sa marami kaming pag-uusapan. But we will focus especially on two things. Number one, yung Sabah, at pangalawa, yung BBL. So, good afternoon at welcome to the show.
Maraming salamat kapatid Rafi, at ako'y natutuwa na nagkaroon ako ng pagkakataon na makasama ka uli. At mapaliwanagan man natin, no, ang mamamayan natin dito sa programa mo para hindi sila naliligaw sa katotohanan ng North Borneo. Ayokong tawagin Sabah yan because Sabah was just a name that Malaysia insists on using.
Okay, so pag sinabi nating Borneo, basically, dalawang probinsya yan. Isang Sabah at saka isang Sarawak.
Yes,
yun
tama kayo.
Kabuuan.
Yun ang kabuuan yan.
Okay.
Kaya, if you will realize, the formation of the Federated Sultanate of Malaya includes two sub-provinces that has no sultans. That is Sarawak and North Borneo.
Okay.
So, that just shows you, again, strengthening that this belongs to the Sultanate of Sulu.
Before we continue, Boy, ano yung relationship mo with the Sultanate of Sulu?
Well, my relationship went all the way, no, with Sultan Jamalul Kiram III, who, sabi ko, in our days of Philippine sports, no, was part of the team that supported Congressman Kuangco at that time. And so we became friends, no, and he also asked me to help him during the period of campaign when he was made a senatorial candidate. So, in the process, no, he made me as an advisor, no, to the Sultanate per se and to him. And this started, no, the deep friendship between me and the Sultan and the family.
Okay, just for clarity, there seems to be a problem with the heirship of the Sultanate, because there are many heirs claiming the title. What is the status of Jamalul, and of course he passed away already, and the one who took over?
Okay, the confusion happened when Sultan Jamalul Kiram III, no, was on sick leave and was operated on, no, for a transplant. So what he did was he gave the authority, no, the title Bantilan to his brother, no, which was Ismail. So he assumed the title Sultan Ismail Kiram, no, and the crown prince at that time was Rahamuda Agbimuddin. So when Sultan Jamalul came back, the brother did not want to give up the title Sultan. So that was the conflict that happened. No,
How
but,
long ago was this? What year was
this? This was exactly in 1995, all the way to the year 2005. This conflict, no, that was between the two. That's why people were confused, no? And Malaysia, in fact, was cultivating Ismail, because he was being asked, no, to take over from the brother, because the brother, which is the older brother, Sultan Jamalul Kiram, does not want, no, to negotiate with Malaysia.
With respect to North Borneo?
To North Borneo, yes.
Okay, now after 2005, was that the year that Sultan Jamalul passed away?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and so did Sultan Ismail take over?
Took over, but Sultan Ismail only lasted for 1 year and a half. And he also passed away.
Okay.
Now today, it is Sultan Pugdalun Kiram.
All right. Now, but there are others that are claiming.
No, you see, that's why me and Dr. Michael Mastura is trying to put up this book so that people will not be confused on how many sultans are there really in Mindanao. There's only 4 sultans that is recognized by China since the year 1410. This is referred to the 4 kings. This is the Sultan of Sulu, Sultan of Maguindanao, Sultan of Lanao, and Sultan of Buayan. Okay. Now, today, they are represented by Pax Magundadato of Sultan of Lanao, and then the Mastura clan representing Sultan Kudarat, okay, then Sultan Jamalul Kiram, and then the Sultan of Buayan. So, this 4 is referred to as the 4 kings of the East Kingdom. We were called, Rafi kasi, as the East Kingdom during 1410 by China under the Ming Dynasty.
When the Sultan went to China?
Yes, because China then was referred to as the Middle Kingdom.
Yes.
Okay, so plus the present struggle between the 2 brothers, who did not want to relinquish the Bantilan or the OIC title. That confusion was taken advantage by Malaysia.
To this day, is there still a controversy as to who is the rightful Sultan of Sulu?
No more. In fact, there was a big meeting among all the leadership, datus and sultans, under the leadership of Pax Mangundadato, that there should be peace, so as that because of what the president wants in the formation of the federal system, the sultanates must be prepared also to unite, to represent their own federal form of government.
Okay, so who is the present and recognized rightful heir to the Sultanate of Sulu? What's his name?
His name is Sultan Pugdalum Kiram II.
Okay. Now, how active is he in the discussions with respect to North Borneo?
Well, he is not only very active, because he is also an academician. He is preparing all the documentary requirements, including the authority that will be given to our president to act on the behalf of the Sultanate, to carry the issue to the International Court of Justice, which is in the same light of what President Diosdado Macapagal did and President Marcos did.
For our audience, kasi many of our listeners are very young
and
unaware of the problem that exists between the Philippines and Malaysia with respect to North Borneo.
Yes.
So, let's give them a condensed history. Saan ba nagsimula yung problema na yan?
Well, it all started simply when the 2 individuals by the name of Alfred Dent and Gustavus von Overbeck leased the property from Sultan Alam.
Okay, these are 2
private
foreigners.
individuals. British.
2 British. Okay.
British nationals.
Representing British East India.
No. They created British Trading. They created the North Borneo Trading Corporation.
North Borneo. Okay.
Okay. Now, these 2 was to pay 5,400 gold coins to the Sultan in the weight of gold. But the 2 went bankrupt. So instead of returning the lease, because they could not anymore pay the pajak, because lease in Malay word is pajak, they went to the Crown, which is England, and said, why don't...
They went to the Queen.
The Queen, and said, why don't you just continue the lease? Because we could not pay it anymore, and the land is very rich. No? And so,
So your Royal, Your Highness or Your Majesty, please take over our
pwede
problem.
po bang kayo na ho ang
Okay na.
magpatuloy nito, which now became the North Borneo Trading Company, hindi na corporation, no? Because that's how British has colonized the world, like the Hudson River Corporation, no? This is how the British is in this corporation, no? So they create, no, a corporation, but the British trading corporation or company is very distinct. It's specified there that the proprietary rights and the sovereign rights over this island of North Borneo belongs solely to the Sultanate of Sulu and not to the Crown. Nakasulat doon sa agreement. So that's why
which is why Pajak is rent.
It's rent. That's why we were surprised when they call it cession. You cannot cede something that is not yours.
Meaning to say, yung mga nakikinig, ang labanan dito is the word Pajak. On one side, sabi ng Sultan, rental yan. Pero ang sinasabi naman ng taga-Inglaterra, ay hindi, binenta yan sa amin.
Napakamura naman po, napakalaki ng island para maibenta ng 5,400 gold coins when this land, no, is bigger than the whole of Mindanao. So this is where the confusion lies. On the declaration of Philippine independence, no?
In 1946.
1946, but even prior to that, no, during the Commonwealth era, the Tidings-McDuffie Law was created for the independence of the Philippines. There was, no...
Excuse me, let me just cut in. When we talk of independence of the Philippines, ang naisip ko yung kay Aguinaldo, panahon ni Aguinaldo.
Hindi po.
Did he ever include North Borneo sa mapa niya sa Pilipinas?
Kasama po nung panahon na yun. Kasama po.
Kasama, okay.
Kasama. Because if you will look at, no, we have maps to prove it, Rafi, no? We bought the old maps made by Great Britain, made by America, no? And made by the French government. The oldest was 1811 and the latest was 1839.
Okay.
No, these are maps made by them.
So way after the Pajak was
way long.
Began,
it refers to the map, no, territory of the Sultanate of Sulu, and the spelling of Sulu was S-O-O-L-O. So,
okay, Sulu.
Sulu talaga. So, sabi ko, these were the evidences that were brought to the International Court of Justice. That's why, as I told you, Malaysia refused to attend because it could not present anything.
Kailan natin dinala yan sa International Court of Justice?
Nung panahon po ni Ferdinand Marcos, nung dinala ho yan ni Don. That's why their continuous refusal, no, I believe, no, and this is only, I believe, created, no, another option which was given to the President by certain Abdul Latif Martirino, no, for an operation.
Pinag-usapan na natin ngayon yung yung Jabida.
That ended the Jabida massacre. So these are the things, no, that today Malaysia always evades, no, when it comes to the documentary evidences.
Why are they evading itong issue na ito when nakapirma sila sa Manila Accords during the time of President Diosdado Macapagal? Ano nga yung Manila Accord para malaman ng
ganito po, no? Yung pong Manila Accord was an initiative by our then President Diosdado Macapagal to invite Tunku Abdul Rahman, no? And to be witnessed by President Sukarno. And that was also the day they formed Mapilindo.
Mapilindo meaning to say Malaya, Philippines, Indonesia.
Indonesia, yes. Okay, now in that Manila Accord, for 2 days, part of the content of the agreement, no, was Malaysia will not prejudice the claim of the Sultanate of Sulu over North Borneo.
What do they mean by not prejudice?
Meaning, because in short, that they recognize the legitimate and legal claim.
Okay.
Okay, over North
So in
Borneo.
other words, hindi nila harangin yung...
Hindi lang harangin. And they both agree on the settlement on two phases. Either by the Pacific means or by the International Court of Justice.
Okay.
So,
meaning could say, when you say Pacific, out-of-court settlement yan.
Out-of-court settlement yan.
Usapang kapatid.
Kapatid.
Or let the ICJ.
Court of Justice.
Okay.
So, this is what was agreed upon. And the three of them signed. Diosdado Macapagal, Tunku Abdul Rahman, and President Sukarno.
Okay.
We have that document, and it's part of the archives that we have presented to the International Court of Justice.
And because of the refusal of Malaysia to now give due course to the Manila Accord, nagkagulo tuloy between the Philippines and Malaysia to the point where it gave birth to our secessionist movements.
In fact, Rafi, it's sad to say, Malaysia exported violence, full-scale violence to the Philippines. Because the Jabida massacre was exposed. Malaysia filed immediately in the International Court of Justice a complaint about the intrusion, the planned intrusion of the Philippines into Malaysia, which is Sabah. And because of this, Malaysia and some of the British intelligence agencies immediately,
would you say, Boy, that Jabida was a false flag operation?
Yes, it was. It was, but
it was created, planned by Malaysia, blamed on the Philippines.
Because Tunku Abdul Rahman, when he agreed for an agreement like this, I could not believe that Abdul Latif Martilino will believe Tun Mustafa, who was then like the Governor, Director General of Sabah. He was the one that gave the idea to Abdul Latif Martilino to give reinforcement, so that the people now can ask for a referendum and a plebiscite. It was not an invasion. It was to strengthen the Suluanons to ask for a plebiscite. Because, mind you, Rafi, there are 3.8 million at the time. And
residing in Sabah.
And 1/3 of that are Suluanons.
Okay.
Meaning,
how about Sarawak? How come we're not including
No, we're including Sarawak, but for the moment, that will connect Sarawak, because it has only one overlord, which is the Sultan of Sulu.
Okay, all right.
So, with what Malaysia did, the creation of the MNLF started where? In a small island in Pangkor, Malaysia, trained by the British and the Malaysian agents. And the birth of the Moro National Liberation Front in 1967, where the chairman was also elected by the name of Nur Miswari. So, you see, when they came back, the Malaysians ordered them, fight for your independence. So it became a secessionist movement. So all of a sudden, the government is now facing a fully armed, mechanized army.
So in other words, these secessionist movements were created by Malaysia to cause trouble in the Philippines so that the Philippines cannot focus on Sabah.
Correct, because it will end it. Once they win and they were able to achieve their mission of seceding, then that means Malaysia has succeeded in isolating the Sabah issue because it belongs to the Sultanate.
Okay,
that's the target.
So we're going to pause right now for we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue the discussions and relate this to BBL.
Thank you very much.
Reklamong totoong pinakikinggan. Reklamong talagang pinag-uusapan. Reklamong talagang tinututukan. Pinakikinggan, pinag-uusapan, tinututukan. Sama-sama, sabay-sabay at tuloy-tuloy nating tutukan si Greco sa programa Ireklamo kay Greco. Kasama si Greco. Greco Belgica. Linggo, alas 2 ng hapon. Sabayang matututukan sa DZRH News Television, DZRH Radio, DZRH News Television Facebook at YouTube live channel at DZRHnews.com. Ireklamo kay Greco.
Feeling mo ba out ka sa mga kwentuhan? Feeling mo ba left out ka sa topic? Baka di mo alam ang trending. Baka di mo pa napanood ang viral. Tuwing Sabado, 6 p.m., di ka ma-OP sa kwentuhan sa social media. Pagsasamahin ko ang mga video na viral, video na trending. Kasama niyo ako, Victor de Guzman. Ulit, Sabado, magkita-kita tayo, 6 p.m. Live sa TV, DZRH News Television at live sa social media, Facebook at YouTube sa DZRH News Television.
TNVS Trending and Viral Show. Sabado, 6 p.m. sa DZRH News Television.
Okay, welcome back to Thinking Out Loud with Rafi Alunan. Nandito pa rin yung ating kasama, si Pastor Boy Saicon. Boy, kanina pinag-usapan natin yung funding ng MNLF na nanggagaling sa Malaysia. And the reason for that is because Malaysia wants to distract us from the Sultanate of Sulu's claim over North Borneo, which is Sabah and Sarawak. And so by keeping us busy fighting secessionists in Mindanao, wala tayong oras to do something about North Borneo. Now, yung MNLF started in 1967, you mentioned.
Yes.
They're still around. It's 2018.
Yes.
At nanganak na yung MNLF at it morphed into the MILF.
Yes.
And then the MILF nanganak din. Ngayon meron ng BIFF.
Yes.
And all kinds of FF. Lahat ng FF nandyan na. So, ang tanong dyan is this still part of the same scenario we talked about earlier?
Yes.
Itong continuity.
It's a consistent effort. It's a not only concerted, but a deliberate effort. No? Not purely by Malaysia, but by the United States of America. No? When it instituted immediately, they knew that President Ramos was successful in curtailing their objective. That's why the formation of the Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao was created under the auspices of President Fidel Valdez Ramos. By doing so, Malaysia's initiative was curtailed. All of a sudden, they lost control over the MNLF. That's why immediately, Malaysia contacted Hashim Salamat and immediately asked them to create an independent, separate group because they knew that Nur Miswari was already...
Would come to terms with the Philippines.
Will work with the Philippines as part of the Philippines. So, yan ang ginawa nila. Now, when that happened, immediately...
At that point, when Chairman Nur decided to
work with
discuss peace and work with the Philippine government, would you say that he also recognized the fact that he was a Filipino?
He number one, accepted that. That's why he relinquished independence. That's why he accepted only an autonomous state wherein he is a Filipino.
Okay. Now, this differentiates the MNLF from the MILF.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes, totally. Because the MILF wants total independence. That's why it's called Moro Independence Liberation Front.
Okay. Islamic
But
Liberation Front.
but it's really, it's independent. They are opting for independence.
Okay.
No, under that cover. And because of this, no, Malaysia pumped in more. In fact, that's when we found out about the factory, no, for the RPGs that they're using in Mindanao. This immediately was followed up, no, by America, no, by creating what they call, no, a peace process initiated by a semi-private corporation called USIP, United States Institute for Peace, wherein it will create a 4-year facilitation plan, no, to initiate peace. But how do they do this? A letter supposedly written, no, and forwarded to the White House, to President Bush, signed by Hasim Salamat, crafted by Michael Mastura and Al Kamlian, no, was received by the White House and acknowledged. And because of this...
That was a genuine letter?
It was a genuine letter,
okay.
no? And we have a copy of that letter.
Okay. What did the letter contain?
But the letter, the content of the letter was wherein Hasim Salamat stated that America has an obligation to help the Moro, Islamic Liberation Front, to initiate peace in Mindanao. And that the Moro Islamic Liberation Front will recognize, the protectorate authority that America will give if they initiate this peace process. Now, this peace process, this letter was given in 1999, but formally only received in 2002. So from Estrada time to Gloria's time already.
Okay.
And immediately, we advised President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo about this letter, that this was an initiated letter by the White House in Washington. So please be very careful. And indeed, the President was given a state visit status in the United States, where Angie Reyes even presented a full program to initiate an all-out war policy in Mindanao in support of the President Bush's war on global terrorism, where right there and then President Bush stopped them. There will be no more war in Mindanao. There will be an all-out peace. That created immediately the program that created the MOA-AD, the signing of the Memorandum of Agreement on Ancestral Domain, where America will define.
I recall, I don't know, boy, if you heard this too, but at one point I was with President, kasama ko si Presidente Estrada, at nagulat ako sa binanggit niya sa akin, kasi hindi ko naman tinanong, pero ang sabi niya, alam mo ba kung sino nagpatalsik sa akin dito sa pwesto ko? Sabi ko, hindi po. Sabi niya, ang Kano. Sabi ko, bakit? Kasi nalaman nila na meron na akong war plan kontra sa MILF. At pumunta rito, pinadala nila sa akin yung Defense Secretary para sabihin sa akin na huwag mo na ituloy. Pero ang sagot ko sa kanila, hindi ko na mabawi yung order ko, binigay ko na Tapos sabi pa nga, I will call the President now. Can you talk to him? Sabi niya, maski kausapin ko ang Presidente mo, hindi ko rin mababawi yung order na binigay ko. So, pasyensya na lang po. A few months later, he was ousted. So, yun ang sabi niya, it's not so much the locals, but the input came from abroad. Ganon din ba ang natanggap mong informasyon?
Ako, in your show, I will admit something, okay?
Okay.
Before he was ousted, I went to the States for 2 days, in Hawaii specifically, and advised Admiral Hayes, who was former SIDPA commander of the Pacific Fleet, and told him that eminent, is the removal of President. But the issues differs. The issue in our case is immorality in governance at the time, because of the Wettingate issue that Chavit Singson brought to us now. But it hastened everything, because the Americans just allowed it to happen. No, they did not stop us, they did not deter us, but said, you proceed.
Okay. Well, anyway, that was just an aside because we talked about history, no?
Yes.
Now let's just go back to the issue with respect to the MILF.
Yes.
And present day with respect to BBL. Kasi yung MOA AD at that time, during the time of President Arroyo, has morphed into the CAB, FAB, BBL. And the main actors are still basically the same.
It's the same. It's the same.
So, ano talaga ang layunin?
They just changed title. No? Nagbihis lang, but the objectives are the same. Okay. And I think our president can see through it. And I don't think the president will allow the objectives, the internal objectives of the interested parties external to us, to make these things happen.
So the objective is still the same. Keep the Philippines focused on its internal problems that we will be creating to keep their hands away from North Borneo. That's number one. Number two, create a homeland where we will also take advantage of their natural resources. And number three, make it a semi-independent state so that we can put our bases there. Ganun ba yun? Something like that?
Your last comment is the more factual. The foreign policy of America shifted in 1998 from Western Europe to Asia. The enemy is not anymore Russia at that time. The imminent enemy is China. But before they could move in their forces, rotational basis, they need the Philippines as the linchpin or the pivot in Asia, they call it.
Because of our strategic real estate location.
Correct. And the only way they could skirt the laws of our government, because remember, we kicked them out.
Well, the Constitution
bars them from entering, by giving semi-independence to the Moro Islamic Liberation Front.
By giving them their own constitution, that will allow them to...
Then the Americans can easily
move in,
negotiate with the MILF and the Bansa Moro Basic Independence Council.
Okay, that's the first step. The second step is if they're already granted semi-independent status, at some point in the future, they can easily break away.
Correct. That is Balkanization style. At the end of the day, it will be Balkanized, and America will...
And integrated with Malaysia?
No, they will integrate it with Borneo, and then America carves out an independent Islamic state pro-West.
Okay, so that's North Borneo plus the
BBL, Southern
Philippines. Yeah.
This will be pro-West, meaning pro-US. Malaysia's got nothing to do with it now. Even Malaysia will lose control over Sarawak, North Borneo, and Southern Mindanao.
Have we discussed this with our friends in the U.S. Embassy and in Washington?
I did. In fact, I did discuss this with the former political officer, Mike Senser. And I gave him a book even on this. And I told him that, we know your needs. But please respect our needs too. We have to survive as a nation. You want to contain China, but don't use the Philippines to contain it. Because we are neighbors. And neighbors must respect and love each other. Don't make or create us as an enemy of our neighbor.
Well, Malaysia is also our neighbor. And we've had this wall that's been, dividing us, no? And we're basically from the same race, no?
Yes.
But as based on the historical account, it looks like it's not really Malaysia that's pushing this. There are hidden powers pushing Malaysia.
It's the Anglo-Saxons. We call it the Anglo-Saxons. The American and British are behind all of this. Because from the beginning, prior to the granting of independence to the Philippines, there were 2 letters sent by Great Britain to America. Please, sabi niya, when you grant independence and sovereignty to the Philippine Islands, please exclude North Borneo. It's contained in that letter, and we have a copy of that letter. Okay. So you will see from the beginning, no, the Americans and the British were consistent, no, because strategically, no, their vision, no, is beyond what they could see at that time, and it is now coming into reality that they need North Borneo, Sarawak, and Southern Philippines.
Siguro at that time, they were thinking of purely the oil and the rich natural resources.
Which is bringing $8 to $9 billion.
Yes, and China wasn't even a factor then. It's only now that China became a factor.
When, I looked at what they call the blockade map during World War II, when America designed it to blockade Japan. They are repeating it today. They are pre-positioning their forces, no, from Australia, New Zealand, New Caledonia, Philippines, no, all the way to blockade, because oil of China, 85% of the oil come from the Middle East, so it passes through the Malacca Strait. And
yeah, the counter argument there is that the reason we're doing that is because China is following the East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere game plan of Japan, which wanted to, they aim to gain control of the Indo-Pacific theater.
May I kindly disagree with you?
In other words, boy, the counter argument to that is that we're doing this because we want to contain China.
We do not.
Correct. No, we're talking about the United States. No?
Yeah.
We're doing this because they are pushing an old agenda.
Yes.
Now they want to take over the Indo-Pacific theater, which is why we have to contain them. Pero ang sabi naman ng China, anong contain? You're threatening us, that's why we have to push you back. That's why we have to push.
That's very correct.
We have to push out our security borders. No?
Yes, you're correct. You're very correct there.
So doon yun ang labanan eh. Tapos naiipit tayo sa gitna.
Yun na eh. Kawawa naman yung bansa natin dito, Rafi, no? Napakaliit na bansa. Mahirap, disunited. Hirap na nga yung Pangulo natin na eradicate yung #1 drugs, no? Problem dito sa bansa na to, na naging problema din ng China when the British flooded, no, drugs to China. That's why there was what we call at that time
Opium War.
The Opium War. No? So when the 9-dash line came, I immediately advised, no, it is not new, Rafi. In fact, the 9-dash line was the 13-dash line in 1949.
11-dash line.
Pero yun, 13 actually, but in 1949, when it started, 13, no,
okay,
America had a treaty with China and said that you take care of the South China Sea while we take full control of the Pacific. So the Philippines is in the middle of this.
May agreement yan? In writing?
No, they have their own treaty, like a mutual defense treaty with the Philippines, because they were allies in World War II.
Yes, but do they have...
they have their agreement.
And that hasn't been abrogated?
No, that's why when they push the 9-dash line, it's a 9 defense line. That's it's a defense line. No, because why? When Noynoy Aquino signed the EDCA, it gave unlimited access provision to the American forces, warships, to enter the South China Sea. So it was like a sponsorship, no? And the submarines platted the ocean floors up to Hainan Island. And that's when the Chinese met with their own submarines, the U.S. submarines, and they said, hey, this is enough. You refuse to talk to us, the Philippines, on a bilateral basis. Sabi niya, then we will have to unilaterally act by pushing our defense lines. That's what you said. That's what really happened. Because we ignored them 9 times. All their note verbal on a request for bilateral talk, ignored 9 times.
Hindi lumilitaw ito sa mga communications,
Hindi. Dahil, kasi nga...
Hindi alam ng taong bayan ito.
Hindi. Dahil, ang gusto ng Amerikano, multilateral. Pag kinausap mo yung China, kasama kami, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, including Turkey. So, sabi ko nga, sabi ng China, bakit?
Pinagtutulungan nyo kami.
Bakit tayong naman magkapit-bahay? Bakit kailangan kasama sila? Yun ang sometimes China could not understand what kind of a sovereign nation are you when your president cannot even, sabi niya, exercise his sovereign right to discuss diplomatic sovereign issues with us.
So, going back now to BBL. Because it's now that's the big problem looming over our heads, no? May version ng House, may version ng Senado, no? At mukhang there are certain versions na may mga provisions doon na objectionable pa rin dahil sa hindi papasa sa Constitution, di ba? At saka sa national security community natin.
Tama ka ron.
Ano sa tingin mo what's your prediction? How will this play out?
May I borrow the wise word of Dr. Michael Mastura when we last met with President Duterte last November of 2017.
Oh, that's just 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Okay.
He shook the hands of the President with the 4 sultans with us and said, Mr. President, please, sabi niya, reconsider not to push for BBL because you will be running aground the Supreme Court, against the Supreme Court, which will declare it again unconstitutional.
In the meantime, we have the CAB and FAB, which is the mother document.
Yes.
Right? Which gives birth actually to sub-agreements like the BBL.
Yeah, but you must understand also, Rafi, Michael Mastura is the lead legal counsel of the MILF.
Precisely.
That created the BBL.
Correct.
But when he saw the flaws, and he saw that there were exclusion rather than inclusion, he retracted. That's why he left it.
Is he still lawyering for the MILF?
No more. But, once in a while, he still is consulted by our good chairman, Muhammad Iqbal.
So from your point of view, this is not going to go, this will go the distance, this will reach the Supreme Court.
It will reach the Supreme Court. And as you rightly in your assessment, that it will run aground really on many illegalities. Like the 200 meters territorial control.
Yung EEZ.
How can you see that? That only belongs to the state.
Yes. There are many issues there that impinge on national security.
Yes.
And on the powers of the president, actually. No? And on the coercive power of the government, which is the AFP and the PNP. There should only be one coercive power. So, boy, there's still a lot of things to talk about, but 1 hour is up.
Yes.
And it looks like we're going to head towards a part 2 at some point in the near future.
I thank you very much, and I hope we could help the public enlightened in your program, Rafi.
I hope so
I'm happy
too.
that we were able to discuss this very, very critical issue.
Thank you. Maraming salamat po.
Salamat.